We have risen from the ashes to school the masses. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Scholars of Wrestling Show. I am your man behind the microphone and your current Scholars of Wrestling world champion. I am Scholar Jeff. Joining us this week, as always, the OG Undisputed Scholar. You know him, you love him, a man of a dashing mustache. Indeed, he is Scholar Tarek. Scholar Tarek, how you doing tonight, sir?
I try my best to take care of my mustache, especially since we're a show that somehow focuses on facial hair. I mean, that's how we use our rating system. But I'm doing perfectly fine. And in case anyone is wondering, why am I basically pulling the Scholar Brian frame here? I'm having technical difficulties at home, so I'm going to have to use my phone for this episode. But hey, doing whatever I can to be on this episode of Scholars of Wrestling. You can't keep the OG Undisputed Scholar away.
Indeed, when it's time to record, it's time to record. And speaking of time to record, as always, last but not certainly not least, my tag team partner, the one and only Scholar Pete. Scholar Pete, how is life treating you, sir?
As I live and breathe, thank you, my tag team partner. It is a wonderful, wonderful day, a night, wherever you're spending your time, ladies and gentlemen, because we are just merely a week away from predictions for the Royal Rumble. And by God, what a prediction show will be. Make sure you hit that subscribe button when I perfectly predict the card and take back a championship. Because you know what I was thinking? Scholar Jeff, you know what I really truly feel in my heart is
What were you
we're not
thinking?
a tag team. I mean, you are without a doubt Rey Mysterio, but I feel like you would be are like father and son, and I want to be your dom dom.
Scholar Pete, I'm only going to say this once. I love you, but I would take it as a personal favor if you never called me if you never said the sentence, I want to be your dom dom ever again. This is a family show.
Oh,
In some states, this is a family show. So I'd let
that Daddy Jeff, Daddy Jeffrey, Daddy Heffy.
Daddy, I mean, indeed. I mean, I just feel like it's perfectly aligned with how we are. I mean, you are like a father figure. I mean, you've been here so long, you've held the championship, and I'm learning from greatness. I'm learning from one of the OGs and Scholar Jeff. So, or dare I say, Scholar Ray, because you lift me up as the Rey Mysterio of this group. And I just hope me, as your Dominic Mysterio, your son, can bring you the appreciation and admiration for each other. That's all I have to say. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for hearing my TED Talk.
What the hell is this storyline going on between the two of you? Jesus Christ.
I will tell you what this storyline is. Pete aspires for greatness, but he aspires to greatness via subterfuge, through smoke and mirrors, if you will.
Whoa.
And that's what, you know what? That's an apropos because I don't want to think of you as just smoke and mirrors. You are not only smoke and mirrors to me, but the fact remains the same. If you try and pull a fast one, I really will show you who your daddy really is. You do
Oh
not want
my.
this. Oh my.
Oh my.
Consider that your first and only warning, young man. Play nice, play by the rules. We're going to have a lovely, lovely show. But if not, you've heard it. You're a Broadway guy. You heard of that little play called The Play That Goes Wrong. Well, if you play your cards wrong, it will be the last play you ever make. Are we
Daddy Heffy
clear?
will do some discipline.
Daddy Hefe, Papa Hefe spank. You don't want that.
I
And
won't
that's
be.
how you break Scholar Tarek. Thank you. Good night.
Oh dear Lord. Oh, Brian, you're
Scholar
missing out
Brian, you're
on
missing
quite
a
an
good one,
interesting
buddy.
episode.
This is what happens
Oh,
when you miss weather
I
weather
miss,
issues, power issues,
regardless of
this
the
is the
fact, the true
quality
tag team
content
is
you
here.
get here.
I mean, the true tag team is over. Always here. Always here. JP Connection for life.
Until you
Don't
guys until you win the world championship, of course. But we still have a week until we get to that point, and we need to talk about
So
the
you're
road
admitting that I'm
leading
winning
up.
the belt. Okay, I love it. I love it, Scholar Jeff.
This is Papa playing nice.
Papa, don't preach. I'm in trouble.
You're in trouble deep. I love it here. Anywho, enough of these shenanigans until before we get to WWE and this week's episode of Saturday Night's Main Event. Let's talk about what's happening on the other side of the tracks. Let's talk about what's happening this past couple weeks in AEW, because we know where WWE stands or where we're leading up to, but we need to take a quick glance about the greater wrestling world at large, including AEW. And there have been some pretty strong words about the state of the main event scene at AEW lately, haven't there? Scholar Tarek, what's been happening?
oh, well, it's hard to really tell about the main event because like the world, at least when it comes to the world title picture, it is just an absolute mess. I mean, you got rated FTR just going against the Death Riders in a feud that really no one is kind of asking for. Uh, and you got a 57-year-old man trying to be John Cena in his final year of wrestling with Jeff Jarrett. And even in his home state of Tennessee, they don't really seem to care either. So you're looking at this world title picture, which again, we haven't even seen the world title in so long because it's trapped in a briefcase uh, by John Moxley and the Death Riders. I'll just simply point out when it comes to the main events or the big stories that is going on in AEW, I would have to say the only one that's really like that nice, to continue with our food metaphor, is that just nice juicy steak that you could just take a nice bite and just feel the tenderness, is the Will Ospreay Kenny Omega versus the Don Callis family storyline. I mean, shit, just give the world title to Kyle Fletcher and just have him have the top heel world champion be a part of the Don Callis family. And Don Callis is essentially the Paul Heyman of AEW, at least heel wise, Paul Heyman. I feel like that's just the much more interesting storyline. And I feel like that would actually benefit more for the world title picture. And that's just something that AEW should really want to go as the face, like the main story, the main faces of Will Ospreay and Kenny Omega. I mean, those are the two that you should be really slap in the face as slapping the on the trying to think of the right words for this actually. Just
Slapping the
slap their
nuts.
face on no, just slapping Omega and Osprey's faces all over like the posters and just have them be the faces of the AEW brand because they're truly the biggest stars of the company. And then you would, if anything, add Swerve Strickland as the number 3 story, which now kind of again, I don't even care about the world title picture. The only storylines that matter is the Osprey Omega Kyle Fletcher Don Callis family storyline and Swerve Strickland and Ricochet. Wow. Congratulations, AEW. You actually are getting people to actually acknowledge Ricochet and not as like go away, we're bored of you, Heat. We're actually like, oh, this is a good heel. Heat turning him heel was the best thing for him, and having him threaten people with golden scissors, including Prince Nana, was great, great angle.
I have to admit
And
that is one thing I have appreciated about AEW lately is that occasionally you when you give people that place to really switch up their game. I admit I was a little worried about Ricochet after like maybe the first few weeks, but the way he settled into his role as a heel is absolutely fantastic. And that is one of several things I'm excited about seeing in AEW over the next couple months. I think there's a lot more to go. And I do have a
oh,
plan for what you proposed for the world title picture. I'll go into that shortly, but finish your thought, both of you.
I'll just say I love the Hurt Syndicate winning the tag team titles in a dominant fashion.
Yes.
Sorry, Private Party, but when you're basically getting crickets with your entrances, your promos, and all that, and you have the Hurt Syndicate who is just getting such a big response from the crowd, this was definitely the right call of having the Hurt Syndicate win the tag team titles, and hopefully they'll be more having those tag titles shown on a much more positive note. And yeah, it's just the many it can open up the tag team division because you actually do have pretty good tag teams in your division. So it's nice to actually have a nice, strong, dominant heel. Well, you say heel, but they're getting those positive reactions. I'll just say the neutral of the Hurt Syndicate to be the ones like, okay, who can top that? Who can just take the titles off them? And then you now have this continuing great character work with Hangman Adam Page, which this past segment, this past week on Dynamite, after he beat some local enhancement talent, Christopher Daniels shows up and he announces that he is now retiring from the ring, and just seeing the response from Adam Page to just being this angry man who's just out for blood for the past that we've been having for the past few months to all of a sudden, oh, I ended this man who I respect's career. What am I becoming? And then you have Daniels going, I want you to be happy. And you just see the look on Adam Page's face, and you're just thinking, man, just thinking about like what these past few years of what Hangman Adam Page has just been going through, from the drinking to the now angry man who's just letting his rage get the better of him. I can't wait to see where now you're ending this man's career. Where are you going to go from here? And I absolutely love it, and I can't wait for more.
Yeah, that was another thing that really was I was almost caught off guard by that in the same way that Adam Page was. That
Hmm.
I was not expecting this feud. I was not expecting that this to be the career ender for Christopher Daniels. And it almost seemed like that feeling of being caught off guard was palpable all throughout this storyline. But before we get any further than that, I would be remiss if I didn't highlight the our resident Christopher Daniels super fan, uh, Scholar Pete, in all seriousness, because this is a part of wrestling history as far as I'm concerned. Did you catch the match? And now that Christopher Daniels is officially retired from in-ring competition, what are your impressions on the match, this feud, your thoughts? How does this all go out in your eyes?
I tough. Listen, you boys know me. I'm a big Christopher Daniels fan. The Fallen Angel, Christopher Daniels, back in his time with TNA, ROH, his time with AJ Styles. I mean, the man is always the best to be The best moonsault ever. I mean, it's just the man was great in the ring. Never had that big world title like that really meant anything. Like, but the X division, what a performer! And you're coming up on this AEW now. Scholar Tark, you said it so beautifully. I can't. I echo most of what you said. Like I said, AEW happy the Hurt Business, for getting their gold, but like Jeff Jarrett and MJF, like I love me some Jeff Jarrett, like the Owen Hart, like bringing Owen Hart into it and everything like that. Okay, but is this really what we're giving MJF? This is one of your top tier stars in the AEW, and you're giving him Jeff Jarrett. Show me what's on with this. And then you come to Hangman and Christopher Daniels, something that nobody saw coming, and it's just working so beautifully. And like Scholar Tarek was saying, is of course, like it's like they have such a moment here. And then one thing I love about Christopher Daniels, not only like you said, is his in-ring competitive nature done, but like the mind of his beautiful wrestling mind and just what they can craft and what they can make this story, especially knowing that it's Daniels because it's his big send-off. Like, what is cooking in the fallen angel Christopher Daniels' mind? Because you know he's going to save some good shit for himself. So how are they going to make one Hangman look just like the most over superstar at the end of this? How can they make him boom into the stratosphere of AEW where he joins the names of Osprey and um Kenny Omega, these juggernauts of performers that put on these five-star matches? Because we all love Hangman Adam Page. We always pop when he comes, when he returns. So with this angle with Christopher Daniels, I just hope that they make it beautiful for both the send off of Christopher Daniels, the fallen angel, a worthy send off for him, as well as building just a mega. I'm not saying that he's not a big star, but make him just the next big guy in Hangman Adam Page. Bring him back to when AEW was first starting out and he had those matches where you were voting and hoping and clawing to get that win for him. Bring back that Adam Page, that hungry Adam Page. And I think this feud with Christopher Daniels can more than well deserved and more than well deliver on that.
Very well said. And with that, with all this talk about bringing Adam Page up to the next level, in response to everything that was said, especially when it comes to the world title picture, I came up with a theory about how this is all going to go. And I'd like to share that with you right now, and I'd like to get your thoughts and opinions on this.
It's not going to be an El Dandy thing, is it?
No, this is actually somewhat serious about how I see
Okay.
No, this is not an El Dandy.
I just have.
This time.
I just have to be. I just have to be sure because I want to hear what you have to say and be invested, and I don't want to have to turn around El Dandy.
Listen, this is a family-friendly show.
Yeah, you don't drop the dandy lightly. When you drop the dandy, you gotta drop the frickin' dandy. But this is not a time to go to Dandyland, okay? This is talking about the AEW World Championship here. And this is how I see the World Championship going for AEW. I think it's a really safe bet here that when it comes to the next, say, 6 to 8 months in AEW, your ultimate end game is going to be AEW champion Darby Allin. This is an end game. But since he's taking some time off to go climb Mount Everest, there's going to be a hefty amount of training time, him actually climbing Everest, and assuming he survives, then he can be reinserted back into the title picture and then eventually win the title from whoever's doing it. Which means that essentially this is going to consist of 3 steps. A super face to take the title off of Moxley, a super heel to take the title off of them and ultimately feud with Darby, and then Darby wins the world championship. Now the way this goes is that right now, as of today, there are two super baby faces that can stand to have a full blown feud with Jon Moxley for the world championship. Tarek, you already mentioned their names. A returning Kenny Omega and a super baby face who always gets reactions, Will Ospreay. In my opinion, one of those two needs to be the one to take him down. Pick one, flip a coin whenever you're ready at a whatever big show they've got coming up soon. Pick either Omega or Ospreay, whichever one, they both work. After that, feud times continue. Feud. Then we go over to the next championship defining feud. You need to go to your super heels. Right now, there's a limited number of them. Of your super heels. We don't know what's going to happen with Hangman Adam Page. The only way he defeats whoever is going to be next is if he doubles down on heel stuff, which is up in the air right now. There is the possibility of MJF being one of them. Because assuming by the time we get here, he's going to be long done with his feud with Jeff Jarrett. MJF can do it all. MJF you can just throw in there. Swerve is still busy. And I just don't think that's happening right away, although he's certainly good. However, we did have one other major return just recently. We recently got the return of Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe absolutely still has lots of life left in him. So he is also an opportunity for some other super heel to take whoever has the title at the time. So at this point, I'm going to go probably for either Samoa Joe or MJF being the heel. But it's not just about being a heel. It also needs to be the heel that can feed the title to Darby Allin after that point. Darby MJF, we've already seen that match. He's proven that the two of them can put on an absolute clinic on just like a random Dynamite. So that's money right there. But also there's a lot of things you can do with a big powerhouse with experience like Joe and Darby Allin. So, yeah, that is the map I see happening over the next several months, between moving it from Jon Moxley, super face, super heel, Darby Allin. That is my prediction. What are we thinking?
In my personal opinion, I think we have now, when it comes to like being in the world title picture, I think the sale for Darby Allin is that window is closed for now. I don't see him being an end game right now. And the one real, like, trying to look at the face heel dynamic, excuse me. I don't think Samoa Joe is a heel because he's right now busy with the Hook Christian Cage storyline. And he's going to be the mentor for Hook in that feud with Christian Cage and the patriarchy. So I don't see Joe near the world title picture anytime soon. Swerve, again, he's more anti-hero now and he's the face of the feud with Ricochet. The only heels that are really in any way, shape, or form close to being in the world title picture is only Mox and MJF. And now when you have a returning Kenny Omega and you have a Will Ospreay, hell, I'll even I look at this Hangman Adam Page storyline and I look at this, I see him now on the verge of coming back to being a face, especially after this Christopher Daniels storyline, which, to go with what Pete said, there's I think whatever storyline they're having, I don't see a feud happening between them, because I do believe his in ring days are over. So, and when I see him walking up that ramp, I actually think it's Christopher Daniels, the wrestler, saying goodbye. And then he posted on social media, it's like, yeah, my in ring work days are done. So if anything, he'll just continue to either pull a managerial position, or he'll just be a producer in the back. So I don't even see that storyline continue. This is all just building for the return of Hangman Adam Page over to the light side. I feel like now, whatever mission they have to make Darby Allin to be the savior of AEW's soul from this evil of the Death Riders, I think that window's closed. I don't even think people care anymore about that, really. It's really just, you have this rated FTR, which is just, I hate to really say it, it's kind of a filler feud. You have Jeff Jarrett, who's trying to get through by facing Claudio Castagnoli, which, all I can say is it's both a good thing and a bad thing that Claudio is in having a match with Jeff Jarrett, because it's a wrestling legend like Jeff Jarrett, and really only in when it comes to wrestling, like the hardcore wrestling, he's not like facing someone who's like, you look at a casual and be like, oh, I know Jeff Jarrett. So it's just kind of a step down for Claudio, because it's like, oh, it's just he's facing a 57-year-old guy who's only won 2 matches in the past few months, and all of a sudden he's thrown into a world title picture. Figure that logic out. The only real things that I look at the whole AEW as a whole, and really the only real hot things that are happening in AEW is the Ospreay, Omega, Don Callis family storyline, uh, Swerve and Ricochet storyline, and the Hurt Syndicate, and Tony Storm. But that's a completely different division that really can't connect with this. Which, again, Tony Storm being basically the face of the women's division, so they're doing that thing right. And what's her name? That that had the that play is playing the guitar with Mercedes Moné. I'm terrible.
Harley Cameron.
Harley Cameron, thank you. I don't know what it is about her. I love her.
It's almost like she's physically attractive and oozing with talent. Like, why?
And it's not even just like in ring work, because she's even getting better at that. But she's just multi-talented, singing and all this stuff. Oh God, I'm just like, oh, I see a future star in this one.
I gotta say, on the topic of Harley Cameron, have you seen her on Hey EW with RJ City?
I have not.
That interview is one of the. I'm a big fan of Hey EW. RJ City is an underrated gem. That guy, and just the comedy banter between Harley Cameron and RJ City on that episode, fantastic. Could not be any more highly rated. Once we're done recording this, I strongly recommend you look it up. It's fantastic.
I'll look into that. Like what I was saying before, AEW as a whole, I feel like the only things that are not really working right now is Chris Jericho. What about Chris Jericho? Just Chris Jericho in general. And really the Death Rider storyline, which is such a shame to say considering how they started off really hot. But then it came to a point where, okay, where do we go from here? I don't even think they know because whatever story that they're going for is just in a halt because now it's just okay, there is no story. They're just the top heel stable with just holding the title ransom. Mm. There's only so
I,
far we can go with that before it starts losing the heat. And I just feel like it's lost the heat. And from what I've been seeing on social media, I'm not alone on that one.
I was a little, I felt like something was up, and I couldn't quite place my finger on what it was. But I was listening to Busted Open one day, and Bully Ray, of all people, actually, I think nailed it better than anybody else. You said that, yeah, John Moxley is meant to be this major heel, but there's one major problem, and that is people love John Moxley. No one really wants to boo John Moxley. And I completely agree with that statement. Like, I don't see a legitimate bad guy. I see John Moxley playing the villain. And there is a difference here. And that's sort of like I want as much as I want to be invested in John Moxley, and I am, as I just can't because of there's that difference there, I can't buy into him fully as the bad guy or a bad guy. So it's just not there. I want to cheer for John Moxley, but right now I just can't. Does this make any sense to anybody? Pete.
That that
Well, let me tell you, it's a handy dandy type of thought that AEW's got going on right now, being that, this world title picture that you talk about with Darby Allin coming back to win. I like it in hindsight. Like it's a great, great thought. That's why I love my tag team partner, full of dreams and aspirations. But I mean, the truth of the matter is similar to what Scholar Tarek was saying. I mean, where are you what is happening? And like it's John Moxley's great as a champion, but like you said, my tag team partner, like you can't boo John Moxley. Like it's John fucking Moxley. It's like booing like I equate him to his Shield brother in Seth Rollins. Like Seth Rollins plays the heel, he plays the face, he plays him great. Like he even said on an interview where he's like, it's now I've been the architect, I've been the messiah, I've been this, I've been that, but now it's just all into one where he goes, I just go out there and they know to see the crazy outfits, they know what to expect. And it's the same thing with John Moxley. Like it's this heel persona that he's giving off. It's like, oh, we can't cheer for him. He's got to be the bad guy. But it's like, give us something to be mad at you about. Make us invested in this storyline that, like Scholar Tarek said, started off beautifully, started off strong, saying, oh my God, AEW really has something here. But at the end of the day, who's taking this belt from him? Osprey and Omega is the obvious choices, but they're in a feud with Don Callis. So that's out. I do like my Hangman Adam Page thought, and Scholar Tark, to your thought, his in-ring competitiveness is done. Make him a manager. Make him the mouth for Hangman, and make him have this just moment where he comes back and he becomes in the world title because of Christopher Daniels. Make him a manager. I would love to see Christopher Daniels as a manager, so do that. But it's make me interested, AEW, and just with your stories. It's what we always say about AEW, and I feel like it's always my problem with it. Give me the stories. I know you guys have the best wrestlers in the world. You don't have to say you do because you have Will Ospreay, you have Omega, not taking shade on WWE. You know they can put on their performers too. But if you don't have the stories, it means nothing. When we go in to talk about Raw, we'll be talking about Penta and just the different aura that that man has in WWE versus what he had in AEW is insane. WWE knows how to package and make a story. Everybody knew who he was when he came out. It was astounding. But AEW do something. And I feel like they're just missing the boat because of just so many problems. The Chris Jericho just not working at anything he does. The John Moxley, where you can't love him, you can't hate him, but right now he's doing nothing. It's, oh, good old Jeff Jarrett, we love you, but you're beating the shit out of a 60 plus year old man. AEW, give us something. Give, and that's how I feel about it. I'm sorry to cut you off before Scarlet Heart, but I just was full of passion, full of rage about AEW.
No, it's all good. I mean, I guess the only like I said, the only real storyline that's actually having some nice tender juices flowing out of it has to be Osprey and Omega versus the Don Callis family. For me personally, just throw Okada in that storyline, and it is just filet mignon perfect.
Are you hungry tonight, sir?
Oh, I'm starving. I skipped dinner tonight. Or
Oh,
I didn't
geez.
skip dinner. I just haven't eaten dinner yet. It's late now. I'll probably just make myself a bowl of cereal before going to sleep or something. I don't know. And
Breakfast for
besides,
dinner, breakfast of champions.
oh yeah, of course. Um, but yeah, just throw Okada in that mix. I mean, it's not completely out of the blue. I mean, he had a small thing, like couple stare downs against Takeshita, so it makes perfect. It'll make sense just throwing Okada in. But I digress. Um, when it just comes to AEW, I just want more out of this title, out of specifically the world title more than anything. I mean, again, I just don't see Edge being and this is Edge, a guy who was a top draw in WWE. I just don't see it working now uh, for AEW in 2025. I mean,
It's the legends of WCW. They're relying too much on their legends when the young talent is where they need to be focusing on.
like I said, just put the world title in the Osprey Omega Don Callis family storyline because that's, in my personal opinion, just the real top story of AEW. That's the only one that's actually really keeping me going. Like, oh, I even said it on our chat when I watched Dynamite while working. I'm like, oh my God, this was awesome. Just that 20-minute brawl that opened the show this past week. Oh man, that was just so much fun. And now we're getting a tag team match it was Grand Slam, right?
Grand Slam, yes.
Okay. For Grand Slam of Omega and Osprey versus Fletcher and Takeshita. That is just yes, please. I am good. I am all in, no pun intended for that one.
Let me tell you something,
And
Skeletor. You should come over and join us. You're just full of wisdom. I really think Scholar Brian really just poisons your mind. I think you got to come over. I mean, you're spreading facts, buddy, and I just
oh
want to
no,
let you know.
no. I Brian and I are enjoying the top of the mountain perfectly fine, thank you. Uh but I must say, Lance Archer and Brian Cage as part of the Don Callis family, that's just something I never know I actually needed. I love this interpretation of the Don Callis family. Keep this going. I'm loving it. I'm just loving that. I'm loving the feud that they're having. There is good things going on with AEW. They just need to work on a few things, and I wish I could say it would be a time for them to build back the crowd, but I just feel like it's right now the quote unquote cool thing to hate on AEW, even though I think it's unjust. But I like the wrestlers there. Uh, I just think they need to just work on just some booking things. The Death Riders, I've heard some people say, some people compare the Death Rider storyline to the Bloodline storyline early years. That they start off hot and they get really cold, and they get Sami Zayn to basically not only heat it back up, but to set it to just completely scorch it. So the Death Riders need a Sami Zayn esque addition to reheat it. And granted, most of the people who I heard from say it's Eddie Kingston to be put in that storyline. But for me
I was
personally,
gonna
that
say
would probably just
there was a small part of me that wanted to say Eddie Kingston just to troll you, but I'm like,
I've already been trolled on that one. But I
yeah,
like
but in all
as soon as I hear,
seriousness, like I just in terms of just like
I mean, it
injecting
could.
someone in there, I don't. And you're talking about this is me like an Eddie Kingston super fan. I'm not convinced it's him.
Oh, like it. Like in the end, I can see where they're going, where they're coming in. It's like he has the history with Moxley to actually add much more in depth to it. But yeah, for me personally, if you put Eddie Kingston into that, it's honestly just going to it's going to keep pushing me away. It's going to push me even further away from that storyline. So I'm glad that someone Kingston super fan like you fool can be in agreements on that one.
I'll tell you, what Eddie Kingston at this point is one of those guys where you just need the right place to put him. And I feel like he wouldn't fit the same exact kind of niche that someone like Sami Zayn would in the bloodline. If you're gonna if you want like a comedy relief guy that people can get behind that will just like really knock the tone of the Death Riders on their ass. Honestly, the one and only name that's coming to mind, or the two names that are coming to mind, are either Danhausen, which are not likely, or there's one other name that I think it could fit that role. But before I say his name, just consider for a moment what the goal of the Death Riders is. They want they're basically the Blackpool Combat Club to the extreme. They want to bring everyone's game up in AEW through violence, evolve or die, essentially. What if one of the people who actually takes this the most seriously and joins up with the Death Riders and ends up influencing them from within is one of the people who began this feud against the Death Riders in the first place? I'm suggesting if you want to get a similar thing when it comes to Sami in the bloodline, there's only one person that fits the bill. Orange Cassidy. Think about it.
I mean,
Freshly squeezed.
I wouldn't go as far as saying add a comedy character to it. It's just it needs this. It just with Sami Zayn basically just basic like pulling in the emotional aspect of it more so than the comedy aspect. So like Sammy started off. It's I'm trying to think of the right framing. It's basically adding a soul to a soulless bloodline to actually get people to be like, I'm really now invested in this. So Orange Cassidy might be an interesting choice. I would actually think an interesting turn is someone who takes things to a stream. Imagine if Darby actually comes in, returns, and joins up with the Death Riders. But I think that one is just too much of a stretch. But I just thought, nah, that's where I thought you were going to go with. But as soon as you said, I'm like the started hinting. I'm like, you know what? Someone who started from the beginning, I could see it being Orange Cassidy. Just
Yeah,
fine, like
there's absolutely potential here, I think. And I'm sticking to my main prediction here. Like from at the beginning of this year, I predicted that AEW is going to be in a transitional period, and it still is, and it probably will be for a little while now. But I'm still confident that there's still a whole lot that's left to be told here, and just give it time, trust the process.
They said that
mhm.
on Max, it's been with their weekly episodes on Dynamite and Collision and everything. Like, or at least for Dynamite, I know that they've been doing great with the HBO Max deal, where you can watch it. And like they say that right now, especially with Max, they usually have hockey games on and basketball, and sometimes they have baseball when it's the season. I would know, obviously, I watch sports. Um, but they said because like there's really nothing going on, football's ending, and it's you have your basketball fans and you're not, but for people who are not, it's a great way for AEW to get visual looks. And right now, with them in the streaming service, I think, especially with the backlash that Netflix is getting, with the hike price up with the ads and everything because of all of the streaming they're putting in with the Raw and all what Netflix is doing. I think HBO and AEW right now have a good thing where it's like, hey, if you put them in the center front page and show, hey, I'm carrying you just like I'm carrying you, Jeff, in the background here. Where HBO is carrying AEW into that transition period. And I feel like they need to go all in with HBO, and AEW just have to and go, which they're doing. And it's great, I think, and good for them for the numbers.
Absolutely. And speaking of numbers, we've got a lot of big things to on the other side of the pond to look forward to on WWE world. And before we make some predictions for this week's Saturday night's main event, as we're going just a week away into Royal Rumble season, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about, because we weren't on last week, but we I gotta talk briefly about the way my boy Penta is being portrayed on WWE. Like we talked about, like it was everything I wanted to see. One of the things I want to see most out of my favorite wrestlers is I want to see them portrayed in the best, biggest possible light. And they absolutely did it with my guy Penta. And I'm just gonna put this thesis statement out there right now, and you let me know whatever you think. He seems like what Shinsuke Nakamura should have been. That big crossover star. Like this seems like what he should have been all along. And this feels like you can insert him in after Royal Rumble. You could easily insert him into any main event or title picture of any kind, and it would make absolute sense and he'd knock it out of the park. What say you all?
I mean, if I'll start this one off. I mean, what a fantastic back-to-back debuts. I mean, even with the pyro the second week with the little flower fucking piston thing, it kept going, and just the aura that he presents. And you even heard him in the first week with the promo, where just drops this promo, and you hear like they're like cutting, but before they cut, he just like looks to the fans. He's like, "I love you all." The genuine like love he has for the product that he works with, and for WWE to show the love of this performer by letting him be him. I mean, Scholar Jeff, my tag team partner, you brought it up right before. Shinsuke came in, and I don't want to say it was because of the Vince McMahon watch, but I think he was very limited being under the McMahon watch, that he can't be who Shinsuke Nakamura was. And I feel like with Triple H at the helm, and they see Penta, and he still does fucking back-to-back weeks of the Mexican Destroyer. It, God forbid that happened back in the day with McMahon, and especially around like you have your certain wrestlers that can handle it, who he trusts to do those types of moves. But for Penta to be having just the debut he's on, the run he's on, how they've treated him with the mics, and I mean, it was the comparison you saw online, and I mean, we've already wrapped up our very in-depth AEW talk, but it's like he's what Ricochet should have been for AEW. I mean, the like, it's no disrespect to him, half the promo week one was not in English, but the people he made you feel his aura, made you feel his presence, that he was happy to be there. He was happy to show and be at the bright lights. I mean, you said it before, he can go to the main event. I see him coming out of the Royal Rumble and having a six-man ladder match at WrestleMania just for an intercontinental title shot. Put Braun Breaker, put him in there. You don't think you can have Sheamus in there? Throw some other guys, Miz, and just have a nice little ladder match, show off at WrestleMania, show Penta with actual weapons where he's dangerous, because we didn't even see him in a cage. We haven't seen him with a ladder. You haven't seen
Oh,
Penta. You've only seen the beginning. So why not show the people like this is just the beginning of something great, like you said, Scholar Tark? And hell yeah, strap in, because I'm all in for the Penta ride.
Cero Miedo, baby. But I will, before we move on, I did have one thought as far as what he could be doing later on in the year. And once I have this thought, I'm just like, oh, whoa, wait a minute. That's a possibility. What if we get Penta versus Gunther?
For the world title?
I was thinking about this. Like, there's no way Penta's going after Cody or anyone who beats Cody. But Penta versus Gunther, that is a damn good feud. Like, you can get a damn good feud for at least a couple months out of that.
Hard hitting, fellas. What a match to see. Miss Tar, please, we need to know. How do you feel?
I I don't know about it being like a long-term booking thing, but it would be a fun like specialty match to go for. But I just don't know what to do with him right now. I mean, I do agree. Yeah, great presentation with him versus Chad Gable and Pete Dunne these last couple of weeks. Great introduction, great presentation. Adding to that presentation the next week with what Pete brought up about um, the spiraling pyro. Uh, I see him still being in the mid card picture, but I see that only really happening after WrestleMania, because I feel like when it comes to the Intercontinental Championship, the main focus for for that is Sheamus getting his WrestleMania moment, finally winning the title that he hasn't won yet.
I mean, he
So
beat
I just,
Daniel Bryan in 18 seconds. I mean, what more of a WrestleMania do you want?
I mean, winning the it's the only title he hasn't won yet.
No, no, I know. I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm
So
just saying.
besides, we don't really want to talk about the 18 seconds thing anymore because that's just
Listen, my queen was there.
yeah, I know she was there. She was a part of that 18 seconds.
Damn right she was, lucky bastard. Made me so mad.
um,
So mad.
made, made the world mad. Who are we kidding? Um, I lost my train of thought. Thanks, Pete.
You're welcome. I'm just here
I
smiling.
think right now I think for right now it's just I don't see a storyline. It, if anything, if they're going to have him go for some kind of WrestleMania match, it'll probably be like the a quote unquote passing of the torch, him versus Rey Mysterio, or whatever is going on with him with Dominic and Chad Gable with the anti lucha thing that they hinted at this week. So maybe it's just Dominic and Chad Gable versus
Ray
Ray and
and Penta.
Penta at, at Mania. That's the only
Yeah.
thing I could see them right now are that they're doing. If they're gonna have him go for the against Gunther in the world title, it has to be like a post Mania thing. I just don't see it happening anytime soon. But it is a fun idea.
Fair enough. And speaking of things that are happening right now, we cannot close out this show without taking a quick little glance at what's happening on this weekend's Saturday night's main event. By the time you listen to this, maybe it'll be right after Saturday night's main event. Maybe we're just gearing up right for it. Whatever you think, let's dive right in and let's see if our predictions are going to be right. First off on the list, we've got Rhea Ripley versus Nia Jax. Now, as the current title holder, I will go first on this one. I think this is a pretty safe bet. We're going to get a Rhea Ripley win here. Nia had a surprisingly good world championship reign that just got wrapped up. But really, I don't see her winning the title again this soon. Not on Saturday night's main event. Pete, your pick up next. Who you got between Rhea Ripley and Nia Jax?
I mean, if the points really don't matter, you would say Nia Jax, but the real answer here is Rhea Ripley. She's not dropping the belt. Like you said, my tag team partner, Nia Jax, doing great. Listen, you got to start booking. You got to be smart. You're coming up to WrestleMania. Who you looking at? Bianca Belair versus Rhea Ripley. Who's going to be that name that Rhea Ripley's going to headline Mania? Because I mean, that's who everybody wants to see. So Nia Jax, great job. Make it a decent match. Make it a good, fun match to watch. But Rhea Ripley all the way.
And Tarek, I think we're going to an accord here.
We are going to go to Accord. Rhea Ripley is not going to lose the title before WrestleMania. Nope, not at all. I'm actually now looking more towards what's happening at Rumble. Is the winner going to be the one to face Rhea, or are they going to save that for Tiffany Stratton? Are we going to have a Charlotte Flair versus Tiffany Stratton match for Mania with Charlotte winning the Rumble? Yep, I'm going to throw that in there already. But the possibility of Charlotte Flair returning at Rumble, returning at number 30, and winning that Rumble. Just
It's a sneak peek, ladies and gentlemen, right there. That's a sneak peek right
Not
there.
that the speculation is running rampant this time of year or anything. We'll absolutely get to that. But then moving on to our next match until we get to that, we've got Braun Strowman going head to head against Jacob Fatu. Pete, it's your pick up next for this one. Who do you got between Braun Strowman
What a
or Jacob
manly,
Fatu?
manly match this will be.
Big meaty men slapping
two
meat.
Animals, two monsters. I don't know what the fuck's gonna happen. I just know destruction and just hard hitting, just wrestling. Jacob Fatu for the win, of course, but by God, what a match. This is going to be one of those. I think this could be his real showing of, hey, um, Solo, your time is coming. And
All
this is
right.
just a taste. Look what I did to this big man. Look what I'm going to do next.
Tarek, it's your pick up next. Who you got between Jacob Fatu or Braun Strowman?
to be perfectly honest, I actually don't see this match ending. I see this match ending in a no contest of them destroying one another, just setting up for a last man standing match in the near future. Something similar to what they did with Bronson Reed and Braun Strowman last year. But if I were to pick a winner, of course, it's going to be, I believe they're now calling him the Tribal Wolf. I'm going to pick Jacob Fatu to win this one. This one is going to be definitely one that the casuals are definitely going to be talking about after this show.
Yeah, Braun.
With
This
all the
one thing,
meat.
Braun Strowman has gotten really good at these monster mash battles, and
All his matches are kaiju matches.
exactly. I sometimes you just gotta have a big man meat slapping kaiju match.
Who doesn't love that?
Part of me want if this. I'm assuming that this is not gonna be. First of all, point. This is just for fun. Points aren't counting for this one, correct?
Points are counting for this one. This is not even adding up to adding up to the title defense. This is this is
Okay,
just for fun.
great. In that case, I'm going to break from the flow. I'm going to go with Braun Strowman just because you know what? You put the bug in my ear that you know what? They could easily make this a little bit of a mini feud, make it a series of matches. And you know what? Yeah, Jacob Fatu eventually needs to go over, but you know what? You also want to keep Braun looking strong. You want to keep a monster that size looking strong.
That's why I
So
think
yeah,
this match is going to end in no contest. That's
you might,
that's that's my real prediction. But just to choose a winner, I picked Jacob Fatu because between the two of them, I think Jacob Fatu needs the win more.
I think I'll absolutely get that win at some point. Will it be tonight? Who knows? But moving on to our next match, we've got Braun Breaker versus Sheamus for the Intercontinental title. Tark, it's your pick up first. Who you got?
I guess I kind of already made my prediction because I already said that they're saving that Sheamus's Intercontinental title win for WrestleMania. So I'm going to go with Braun Breaker to win, but it's just a question on how with it and to keep this storyline of Sheamus's hunt for the Intercontinental Championship going. I mean, to be frank, this is a good stage for him to win it. I just don't see them again having to have Braun Breaker hot potato the Intercontinental Championship. I don't want to see that for a third time. Like him losing it his first title defense and then winning it back in his rematch. They did that with Jey Uso. They did that with Sami Zayn. We don't need that shit again. So I'll go with Braun Breaker to win.
I'm also going to go with Braun Breaker to win. That logic just makes too much sense to me. I do agree that it seems like there's still enough time to set up for WrestleMania. I know we're not even through Royal Rumble yet, but there's still time. And you know what? It the timeline checks out in my eyes. Pete, it's back to you. Do we have an accord?
So the points don't matter. I think that it's going to be a no contest because Jeff Hardy's going to come back.
All right, I'll put down Jeff Hardy's name. Is that what you want me to do?
He's going to come back and screw Sheamus. And that's going to be the Sheamus. No, I think Braun Breaker for the win, obviously. With the
Damn it! I really wanted to put Jeff Hardy down on this little sheet, and I'll be like,
I know
"Yeah,
we're
you
not.
picked
I
Jeff
know.
Hardy, woo!"
I know we don't care for the prediction points on this one, but Jesus Christ, try and think logical, gentlemen.
listen, I was going to say that either I was going to say that Kane came back from Knox County to come and interfere in the Strowman versus Fatu match.
Hell, if you're gonna go that crazy, just go ahead and just be like, they're gonna have this Intercontinental title match going, then all of a sudden we have Joe Hendry show up and just throw himself in making a triple threat match, playa.
Listen, don't give us spoilers for the main event.
Well, well, with that, let's just dive right into it. The last match on the card, we've got Gunther versus Jey Uso. I'm just gonna go with Gunther. I cannot elaborate on it anymore. Jey Uso is a contender at another show. It's just not this one. Pete, who do you got?
Well, then, I think what happens here is Jimmy and James. No, let's be serious. Seriousness. God, I love Jay. I fucking love Jay Uso and the character he's doing, and I really want him. I've talked to you, Scholar Tarek. I've mentioned to my tag team partner, I want this boy to have a world title by the end of the year. But like you said, the Saturday night's main event is not that day.
We are
I
just
mean,
too
he's
amused by
better.
the smell of our own farts on this show.
Let me tell you something. I mean, it's going to be Gunther all the way. I mean, the one thing I will say, just not to um postpone, but I thought that how they made the segment on Monday with him and Jay made him look not weak, but not the Gunther I like to see. So I would like to see Gunther fucking stump a mud hole in his ass and walk it dry.
Fair enough. And Tarek, it's your final pick of the evening. Go preach the word of Gunther.
It's actually funny Pete brought up about the Gunther's world title reign, because that seems to be a very in-depth topic for the internet wrestling community to discuss how overall Gunther's world title reign so far has been very disappointing, to say the least, when it comes to in the long run. It's at least compared to his Intercontinental Championship run, where he's basically like, no pun intended, the final boss that you fight. He's the Shao Kahn for the Intercontinental Championship. And although I do agree when it comes to Gunther's world title reign that it's been very, I won't say disappointing, but it just hasn't been compared to the Intercontinental Championship reign. Yes, it is disappointing. It could be a whole lot better, but it's kind of hard to do that when you're separating him from the bigger players, and when the bigger players are involved in one other storyline, like overall big storyline, which is comes to the Bloodline and the WWE Championship with Cody Rhodes, because that's a whole nother level of ranking wise for people going for like the world title. The world title is for the up and come. It's like, it really has gone back to how the world title was looked at in the past, of being
The secondary
step.
title.
I won't even say the secondary title. It's being respected as a world title. It's just the secondary world title. There's the mid-card belts, which is just the stepping stone to get to the world title picture, and the world title picture is that stepping stone to get to the WWE picture, the championship picture. The WWE championship is still the number one prize. This will always be the number two. But I don't.
But you can't
Gunther's.
blame Gunther because
I'm not blaming Gunther.
I know.
I'm not at all.
Saying,
It's definitely the
Gunther.
booking. I mean, you had a good start with him facing someone who is a 14-time world champion in Randy Orton to make up for his King of the Ring loss. You have a good storyline. You had a good storyline against Sami Zayn, who is in that ranking of world title picture, and being the first person to actually pin Gunther on the main roster of two people. And then you have the Cody Rhodes match, which is not a feud. It was just for it's for the Saudi Arabia title that really, in the end, doesn't make a lick of difference. But I will give it to that it led to quite possibly the real downside of his title reign, of him losing confidence in himself, and then having to go through basically being the third wheel to Damian Priest and Finn Balor's storyline, which he kind of saved himself by realizing, I'm actually above this stupid feud, so I'm just going to just kill both of these guys in the triple threat and be like, oh yeah, that's right, I'm Gunther. I'm better than this. I don't need to have confidence issues. And I'm glad that they had him wake up, and he's going sort of back to Intercontinental Championship reigning Gunther going into this match against Jay Uso. Now, he still needs some work, and I still think his world title reign is still young. Granted, it's almost 200 days, but it's still young to actually make that impression, where eventually he will be facing someone like a Seth Rollins, like a CM Punk, like a Drew McIntyre. He's already John Cena, and I'm not including Goldberg, even though some people do. He had a great match with Cody Rhodes. So, like, they are showing that he's in the cusp of joining those ranks as well. But yeah, it's a step in the right direction now that they got that Priest Balor storyline out of the way, and as long as they keep this momentum going of he is the respectable heel that respects professional wrestling, and you got to earn his respect. Similar to what Undertaker did. All right, but now back to Jey Uso, Gunther, back to Saturday Night Main Event. That finished my rant on the Gunther title reign. That's just something I've been holding on to for a while now, and I was finding it hard to find words, but I finally just have the
Listen,
feeling to let it out.
it's a lovable space here. We love you, Scholar Tar. Come over. We love you. Just speak your mind. Don't let
I'm not.
Scholar Brian interfere with you.
Oh man, I can't wait for Brian to come back and just slap that grin off your face and be like, "Stop trying to steal my tag team partner."
I
Because
will
it's not going
say,
to happen.
however, you did get me with one phrase. That is, wait a minute, I'm Gunther. And he just starts beating the crap out of people. Like, honestly, in
It's
all
just like
seriousness, that sums it up perfectly, I think.
that's what I loved about the triple threat match that he had with Priest and Balor. He was just like he was having the triple threat match. He's just like, wait a second, I'm Gunther. I'm better than this. So I'm just gonna power bomb the shit out of Damian Priest on steel steps and just destroy Finn Balor to end this, winning in a dominant fashion. That's the type of shit that I like to see Gunther go through. That's the type of shit that's my world heavyweight champion. And that's why I'm going to pick Gunther to retain this world heavyweight champion. He's going to once again put Jey Uso to sleep. He's going to repeat what he did with the Intercontinental Championship. So, something similar to when Sheamus had that ECW feud with Goldust. At first, it's like, oh, it's a nice feud. And now Sheamus evolved into becoming more of a main event. And then he just destroyed Goldust in a random Raw match. Like, see, I'm better than this. So,
So
yeah, it's not going to be a squash match for by any means because Jey Uso is one of their most popular superstars. So, oh, ooh, excuse me. Oh, sorry.
Scholars, I just have a
Saliva
quick
got caught in my
question.
throat.
Quick
Shoot.
question. I know we finished up the matches, and we all pretty much we all agreed. If I'm correct, my tag team partner, we all agreed. So here's what I propose to you, gentlemen. There are four matches. If you and I just want to hear just the name out of these four matches. If one title had to change, which match would it have been?
I
If
see.
one,
Intercontinental.
For
If
a
there any
second,
title was going to change hands, it would be the Intercontinental Championship.
I agree. I agree with that statement.
yeah,
So,
we have an accord. We have an accord,
okay.
definitely.
Okay. Just curious. I didn't know if any I was tempted to go the world title, and then I was like, no, the IC just makes more sense.
This is obviously Gunther and Jay are going to main event this show.
Yeah.
Obviously. And it's not even just because one of their taglines is main event Jey Uso and it's not even just of course the a world champ the world it's probably going to the order of this card is probably going to be uh
Rhea.
Rhea and Nia to open. Then you have the I guess you could say the Kaiju match will probably be second. And then you have the Intercontinental Championship and then the world title. That's my guess.
That sounds about right.
If I were probably wrong, I would probably say the Intercontinental Championship will probably go on second, and then the Kaiju match will be third. But I personally think the Kaiju will be second.
And with that, you've heard a lot of predictions about what the future holds for, in our opinion. And you're going to be hearing a lot of more predictions this upcoming week for the Royal Rumble. But let's say you want to let your voice be heard as well. You want to get in on the action. You want to predict what's going to be happening, particularly in the Royal Rumble. Well, we got something for you. We've got the return of our 15th annual Royal Rumble game active right now. If you want to let us know whatever you think is going to happen at the Royal Rumble, you're going to pick numbers, pick who you think is going to win and how. Let us know at the Royal Rumble game Link is in the description. And the winner wins a $25 gift card to WWE Shop. You got nothing to lose. Join in. It's a lot of fun. We've been going for 15 years strong this year. So, what are you waiting for? Click the link below. Check us out. Let us know what you think and join in all the fun.
We have 2 past winners on this show right now.
Indeed, we do.
Mhm.
Fortunately, I don't think we were giving away gift cards the year that I won it. So, hey.
No, me neither.
Yeah.
That would have been nice.
We almost have a budget this year. Woohoo. But anyway, check us out, join in all the fun. And of course, as always, you can leave us comments all across the internet, but especially on the Twitter machines because we're still on there. You can still join the conversation with us right now. Tarek, where can they reach you?
You can find me one thing, liking this video, subscribing to the channel, and praising Gunther even more at the Avataric.
And Scholar Pete, where can they reach you?
I mean, Skeletoric, you took my flair away. I was just saying, make sure they subscribe to see when I take my predictions to the next level and reclaim my rightful title from my tag team partner, who I love, might I add, love and adore with passion, but want my Goldie back at Improv Pete.
And you can find me not really buying into anyone's rhetoric right now at I'm Robbie Rage. And of course, for all of these relevant social media links and much, much more, you can also check us out at the description box below at our link tree. That's linktree/Scholars of Wrestling. And with that, it's time to gear up for Saturday night's main event and for the next week coming, because we're gearing up for the Royal Rumble. You know we're going to be there. You know we're going to be breaking it all down. You know we're going to be getting the head pats because we love it there. You know we're going to be doing it all because you know who we are. We are the Scholars of Wrestling, and you have just been schooled. You're welcome.
You're welcome.
See you all next week for Royal Rumble predictions.